Namaskaram, sir. Everything is set.
Namaskaram, sir. Kekkada?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right.
And YouTube live streaming is also set.
Can you
And,
hear me also?
I can hear you also, sir. Yes.
Very good.
Namaskaram.
Okay, number Ashwaji irkara? So I don't see him.
I'm here. Yeah.
I can see you. Yes. Yeah, he is there too.
Irkara, sir. So I didn't see him. So Ashwaji?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you
So
see me wave?
some logistics, we thought we will also say a prayer for all the turmoil that's going on, for the benefit of all people. And, you know, like in the Middle East and all that, children, innocent people are being killed, not taking any sides.
Yeah.
We can say a prayer moment for the Lord. We can say a prayer, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Does it fit into that thing, or is there anything better?
We can actually chant the Shanti mantra for them, because
We are saying, we are saying Sahana Bhavatu anyway. So, right, Shanti mantra.
Yeah.
So, also, whoever is the evil person, thing that is behind, let God take care of that, so that innocent people won't suffer. So,
yeah, sure.
So I'm ready to start. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Vagishathat Manasas Sarvarthanam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakrityasu Tam Namami Gajananam. Om Bharata America Punya Bhumyau Namo Namaha. Om. Today, Dr. Vidyasagar, our chairman of the Hindu Dharma Committee, had another commitment, so he is not here. He will be reviewing this meeting subsequently. I will start with a Shanti Mantram and then hand it over to Sri Ashwatji to elaborate and teach us and give us a discourse on Patanjali, Sculptor of the Mind. You can join. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dr. Ashwatji, would you please take over? And
Thank you very much, Sanat. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjalimanatosmi Laye Sambodhayet Chittam Vikshiptam Shamayet Punaha Sakashayam Vichaniyat Samapraptam Nachalayet. Om.
we will say that prayer also. Om Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Tadushkrutam Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Let that Lord come down and in this time of difficult moments, for the sake of all people who are suffering, innocent people as well as children, we pray for God to come down and establish peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for having me here today. This is the 10th presentation. I'm so honored to be here. This 10th presentation in the Sanatana Dharma Learning Series of Hindu Temple of Greater Chicago. The title of today's talk, as you saw in the slide, is Patanjali, the Sculptor of the Mind. Whenever I think of sage Patanjali, I always remember the great sculptor Michelangelo. As you know, he was a remarkable sculptor, an extraordinary painter, an architect, and a poet. In fact, he was part of the Renaissance, which started and a luminary in Western culture. And actually, he also was part of what they call as the High Renaissance period. High Renaissance, even though Renaissance spread over close to 100 years, the High Renaissance period was about 30 years, between 1490 and 1520. So the reason I remember Michelangelo whenever I think of Patanjali is because Michelangelo was a sculptor, and he sculpted marble in marble. And marble is an interesting stone. It is neither too soft nor it is too hard. And marble also can take some dents and scratches and heat and all that. So there is some similarity to the sculpting of the marble and the sculpting of the mind. So here is a beautiful quote from Michelangelo when he was asked, how is it you are able to bring out such extraordinary sculpture from a slab of stone? And he famously replied and saying, the sculpture is in the marble block, complete and perfect, before I even start my work. It is already there. All I have to do is to chisel away all the superfluous material. And so the comparison for Patanjali's work for the mind and Michelangelo's work for marble is the same. There is an angel in every human being, and that angel has got an angelic mind. And that mind, the scripture of yoga, the Yoga Shastra, calls it as Nirmana Chitta. This Nirmana Chitta is an absolutely perfect, pure mind. And this is actually in every human mind. Michelangelo actually went on to say, I saw the angel in the marble, and then I carved it until I set him free. This is exactly what Patanjali does to us when we sit at his feet. He sees the angel in each one of us, and then he carves out, and then he sets that angel in us free. This is the outstanding contribution of Maharishi Patanjali in his magnum opus work of Vedic psychology called the Yoga Sutras. The human mind is also like marble, not too hard, not too soft. And like marble, the mind also can withstand some scratches, heat, and dents. And the fine, beautiful, cultured mind, Nirmana Chitta, can be carved out, can be sculpted in every single person. And it is just waiting to come out. So just like the period of Renaissance in Western culture, the period between 600 before the current era to 200 BC, 600 to 200 BC, about 400 years, is considered as a seminal time in Indian intellectual history. And this period is called the Sutra period, the time of the Sutras, when all the foundational works were actually composed. And all these foundational works are relating to Indian philosophy. And these Indian philosophical works were composed among the authors. There were 6 of them. Among them, like a beacon of inspiration, Patanjali stands out and gives us this vision called the darshana or the yoga darshana. You may all recall that we have already met this sage Patanjali earlier. In our earlier presentation, I had spoken about the Acharya Parampara and how the very first of the teacher was Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva dances the cosmic Tandava dance in Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu. And you may recall that I said that 2 great sages were witnesses to Shiva's cosmic dance, the Vyagrapada, and the other was Patanjali. So we had traced that Patanjali was actually an incarnation of, this is legendary, an incarnation of Adishesha, who is in the cosmic ocean on which Mahavishnu rests. And this Adishesha takes birth in the human form. So the question is, why did Adishesha, what inspired Adishesha to manifest himself as Patanjali? So there is a very interesting story about how it happened. It appears that in one of the earlier times, Shiva was dancing, and that dance was being watched by Mahavishnu, who was lying on Adishesha. And when he was lying there, the dance was so mesmerizing that Vishnu also resonated to the rhythm and the movement, and he also started squirming on his couch of Adishesha, and then at one point of time, it appears that Vishnu's body became so heavy that even Adishesha was gasping for breath. And then the dance ends, and at the end of the dance, suddenly Vishnu's body becomes light as a feather. These are all metaphorical. We are all heavy, weighed down by worry, concern, anxiety, and then that actually shakes our very foundation of our mind. And when the mind is completely relaxed, there is a sense of lightness. So to dramatize that, this story is given in our Puranas. Then it appears Adishesha asked Mahavishnu, how is it this transformation was possible in your body? Then he says it is because when Shiva completes the dance, an enormous of tranquility descends on the entire cosmos, and that tranquility is what actually permeated into me also. So there is some magic in Shiva's dance, and Shiva's stopping the dance. How is this possible? Then Mahavishnu said, it is possible because of yoga. And that was when it seems Patanjali said, I must learn that. So who else I can go to? I will go to I will go to Mahadeva, Shiva, and I will learn from him. And then he does. So even chronologically, this wisdom, before Patanjali, there was a text called Maheshwara Yoga Shastra, but unfortunately, we do not have that Maheshwara Yoga Shastra, whether it was lost in the various Islamic burning of the libraries, or it just because they were written on perishable material like the bark of a tree, it just disintegrated. But we do not have any text, Maheshwara text, but fortunately, we have Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So in the Acharya Parampara, even today, we actually invoke Patanjali to show us the path for controlling our mind, which is called as Chitta in Sanskrit. So we saw in our earlier discussion of the discussion of Shiva's dance and the transmission of that dance into the Maheshwara Sutras, which became the origin of language, and the tradition of grammar was set up. And we saw how he wrote the commentary on Panini's grammar, Ashtadhyayi, all those we covered. And in that context, I had also mentioned that Patanjali actually wrote 3 seminal texts because he looked at the world and then he said, what is it that is actually bothering the world? 3 things are bothering the world. Our mind is something that bothers. It is our health, and then it is our speech. With speech, we can get into extraordinary relationships when the speech is wholesome, and with the speech, we can also get into enormous trouble also. So let us perfect this speech, and therefore he gave us Vyakarana, the commentary of Mahabhashya. And then that is Yogena Chittasya, Padena Vacham. So he gave Yoga Sutras for managing the mind. He gave grammar for managing our speech, and then he also gave a book of medicine. Again, unfortunately, the book of medicine that Patanjali is said to have composed is not available. It is lost. So we met Patanjali in Chidambaram. Then where did he take birth? Where was he born? So most of the legends and tradition point to sage Patanjali being born in present-day Tamil Nadu. In fact, there is a samadhi, there is a assigned to him in the Brahma temple in a place called Tirupattur near Trichy. And so therefore, we can safely say that Patanjali is from the present state of Tamil Nadu, and then that's where he was living and teaching. And then he was born. There was an immaculate birth. His mother was Gonika. That is why in several texts he is also called as Gonika Putra. It appears his mother did not have children for a long time, and she was very, very worried about it. And therefore, she starts getting old, pretty old, and she sees that her end is quite close by. And as a final attempt, she goes to the river, probably Kaveri River, and then takes arghya. It takes water in her cup hand, and then offers it to sun. And then he says, Lord, please give me a son before I die. At that point, it appears a small snake-like creature fell into the water of her Anjali. Anjali is where she has got her palms filled with water. And in that, this snake-like structure fell, and suddenly it transformed itself into a baby. And since it fell in her Anjali, and for falling in Sanskrit is called pata, So the name is probably given as Patanjali. We really do not know what exactly was the name given to him, what namakarana was made to him. So this is the legend of Patanjali, probably from Tamil Nadu. And since there is a samadhi ascribed to him in near Trichy in Tirupattur, probably he lived and worked in that area. And also, that's also there is somewhat believable, because a lot of grammar works, commentaries on Panini happened in the area of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So many wonderful commentaries, Sanskrit commentaries are there. And the subject matter today is that of the mind. And the text that he gave us is the Yoga Sutra. It is also called as Patanjali Yoga Darshana. Darshana means philosophy. Patanjali Yoga Darshana. So why did he pick up this subject of the mind? It is because, as I said earlier, he noticed that human suffering can be reduced only to these three. Our communication, which can cause a lot of anguish if it is not used properly. And communication can also give us enormous amount of happiness, comfort, and progress. And therefore, speech let us perfect. And then bodily sickness, Patanjali also later on picks up that question. If there is any illness of the body, a person can do nothing. I'm sure it is all in your experience also. A slight headache is enough. We will not be able to concentrate on the work. So it is very essential that as far as possible, we should not lose our good health. And we should do everything in our power to maintain good health of both the body and the mind. That's where Patanjali Maharshi comes in. So to whom is his text addressed to? There is an interesting interesting story about an incident in the life of Swami Vivekananda. As you remember, Swami Vivekananda came to United States, and then he became quite popular here as an extraordinary teacher in the United States. And then obviously his reputation spread far and wide. He was invited to Britain. He went to London, and in London he was to give a talk. In the talk, incidentally, it seems he mentioned in London the phrase Indian psychology in the context of speaking on Vedanta. Swamiji mentioned the phrase Indian psychology. So obviously he is a new person to England, and then they all thought that the English are the empire where the sun never sets, and then how can there be any wisdom anywhere outside Britain? So that was their attitude. So one person, heckler, actually it seems, stood up and said, is there a thing, a subject called Indian psychology? Psychology is something that the West has given. Then it seems Swamiji said, it was a lady who asked, Madam, psychology is usually considered as a subject to treat a sick mind. Indian psychology is there to uplift the human mind, a normal, functioning, efficient human mind, to the divine. That is Indian psychology. Indian psychology is not to treat compromised minds. It is to uplift the mind to become divine. Hushed silence. And that was when Swamiji gave his talks on Raja Yoga. And one of the finest commentaries on Patanjali Yoga Sutra is by Swami Vivekananda, and it is entitled Raja Yoga. And this is the legend behind. So Patanjali was not really interested in psychology as a therapy. Why is that? Because he had already written a book on medicine. And medicine is not limited to treating the body. It is also treating the mind. As I said, unfortunately, we do not have his text. I am sure he would have treated the problems of a compromised mind in his text on medicine. Because a physician not only treats the disease of a person, but also treats the mind of the patient, because he comforts him. He gives him hope. And then he makes him well. And then when the patient becomes well, the physician rejoices the success of his treatment as much as the patient. And therefore, that part of the psychology is already part of the book of medicine. But what about a normal human being? A normal human being who is going through challenges of life. A human being who is trying to balance his sanity among the chaos of everyday living. So he took up that as his project. So let us see if we can meet this great sage. So if we meet this great sage, Patanjali, what would be my question? Because a teacher, unless asked, will not teach. And so the initial beginning of the conversation has to start from the student. So what do you think that student who asked Patanjali, what kind of a question he might have asked Patanjali so that Patanjali decides to write? I am reminded of a beautiful verse from the Bhagavata. In Bhagavata, the situation is, as you know, Vidura, the brother of Dhritarashtra, was with him all along, through thick and thin. On the eve of the war, Vidura is extremely harshly insulted by Duryodhana. And then Dhritarashtra doesn't say a word when his brother is being insulted. And remember, Vidura was his prime minister. Both politically as well as domestically, he had to defend Vidura. Dhritarashtra fails to do that. Frustrated, Vidura actually throws away his office and all the ministerial garbs and then goes on a Tirthayatra. And then he comes and meets a great rishi called Maitreya, and we will pose the same question that Vidura asked Maitreya to our Guru Patanjali. Sukhaya karmani karoti loke. Everybody, every human being is striving day in and day out for the sake of getting comfort and peace. Sukhaya karmani karoti loke. But sir, what do I see? Natai sukham va uparamam va. I don't see anybody having any comfort, lasting comfort. Here and there must be spurts of joy. I'm not seeing lasting comfort. I'm not seeing any peace in anybody's mind. Please tell me, where are we going wrong? What did we miss? Same question. Let us ask Patanjali. Now, Patanjali Maharshi starts his teaching and he introduces a term, an important classical term, a technical term. And the term he gives us is chitta. You have a chitta. This is the marble block that we talked about. And this marble block, inside this marble block of chitta, the mind, in that mind, there is a beautiful, beautiful angel. And that angel, when you bring out, then this person will completely, lastingly, for all time to come, he will have that sukha and shanti. Oh, then, sir, what is this chitta? Comes the answer from the teacher. Chetati anena iti chittam. That is, anything that can cognize, a cognizant entity that is in you is a chitta. In short, we can call it as the mind. So what is this mind? What do you mean by this mind, sir? Because I know what is emotion. I know what is intellect. I know that I am an individual separate from the entire universe. So what is this chitta? Chitta consists of the three parts, my dear friend. And those three parts are your emotional manas, your intellectual buddhi, and individual sense ahankara. And this chitta is defined as a conglomeration of your emotion, your intellect, your individuality, and your memory. This is the marble that we have to sculpt. And so, let us see what are the things we have got to work on in this block of marble called the chitta. This chitta is linked to the sense organs. So why should it be linked to the sense organs? Because only the sense organs are the ones which are engaged with the world. And therefore, any understanding, any emotion, any ideation can happen only through the medium of our sense organs. And therefore, the teacher is saying, your chitta has an intermediary between you and the world. And that intermediary is your sense organs. And then, now, let us see. Let me start my teaching. And what Patanjali does is, he has to design a teaching methodology. Again, another revolutionary concept. Until such time, what was the teaching methodology? Until Patanjali came on the scene, the teaching methodology was, there is one guru, there is one shishya or a group of shishyas, and to those shishyas, the teacher teaches, and they will go back and teach. So an elaborate syllabus, and then lot of things can be lost in time and in translation. How to ensure that the clarity and the accuracy of the teaching is never ever lost? By most conservative estimates, Yoga Sutra has been there for last 2500 years. How did it come to remain uncorrupted? It is because the design of the methodology of teaching called writing a sutra. Sutra also means, in English, it's a comparative word is a suture, that which connects things, which ties things together. And he has to start with a prerequisite. Because just because somebody comes and asks a question, you have to give an answer. Where do you start? Suppose somebody comes to you and says, I don't have peace of mind, please teach me how to get peace of mind. Where do you start? How do you start? For that, some prerequisite is required. And the text itself should not impose those prerequisites, because prerequisites before coming to the study can vary in time. So it can just say, come with preparation. To indicate that, Patanjali simply uses the word atha, now then. Now then, this word atha serves two purposes. One is, it says that you come prepared for learning. And the second, it says this is the auspicious beginning. So he draws upon an early teaching, Omkarascha atha shabdascha dvavivo brahmana pura kantham bhitva viniryatau tasmad mangalikau ubhau. In the beginning of time, from the creator, two sounds came out, Om and Atha, and therefore we start a scripture with Atha. Sir, we are trying to go away from the subject. Please tell me about the mind. So it brings the teacher back. Patanjali asks us, do you want to have control in your mind? Do you really want to control your mind? One. Do you desire to be free from dukkha? Really? Do you want to get the skill and the ability to endure, to bear the challenges of life? Are you sure? Because you see in the world, lot of people, they identify that they have got dukkha, they identify that they have got problems, and if you suggest a solution, they don't want to take it. They're not interested in solution. They're only interested in sitting with you, crying, and then say, these are all my problems. And then whatever solution that is offered by the teacher is ignored. All that the person wants is to just take the load off their mind and keep talking. So Patanjali says, really, are you serious? Then obviously, this student says, I am serious. I really want to control my mind. And that is when he gives a solution. You control all the modifications of your mind. There are a lot of ups and downs and waves and waves and waves that come. Control that. Sir, what do you mean by that control? All right, let me give you a scene, a situation, a scenario. If you want your lamp, which you have lighted, let us say you have lighted a candle, you have lighted a deepa, a lamp, and when the lamp keeps flickering, it distracts you. So therefore, we want that flame to be stable. So what should we do to make this lamp remain stable? You go to a place where there is no breeze. Subsequent to Patanjali's work, Yoga Sutra, came the Bhagavad Gita. You can imagine the dating, even it precedes Mahabharata. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives us a metaphor. Yatha deepo nivatastho nengate sopama sprita yogino yathachittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Chapter 6, verse number 19 of the Bhagavad Gita. What it means is, if you are in a room where there is no breeze and you actually light a lamp, and that lamp will not flicker. Just as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker So a disciplined mind of a yogi remains steady in the contemplation on the Supreme and say that I am actually controlling my mind. Is it that easy, sir? All I have to do is to be in a quiet place and my mind becomes stable. Is it easy? Then the teacher says, no, definitely not. It is very hard. In fact, it is almost impossible to control your mind. But you can do it with practice and dispassion. A two-pronged practice and dispassion has to be explained, has to be experienced, has to be employed. So what is the skill of a sculptor? Now you see, we have taken the marble of our mind, a slab of our mind, and we are sitting at the feet of this great sage Patanjali, the sculptor. So what is his skill? His skill is that he uses his tools very, very judiciously. You cannot take the hammer and hit it with all your force. Then the whole marble itself will crumble and it will become powdered. Very carefully, the chisel and the hammer, economically, every stroke that is deliberate and precise. That is how Patanjali actually, while sculpting the mind, uses his genius in his word sculpting. And what is the skill he uses? First and foremost, brevity. Whenever any speech is embellished by brevity, and that brief statement is unambiguous, and its message substantial, its application universal, no fumbling for ideas or for words, and the message given is irrefutable. These are the 6 qualities of an excellent sculptor of the mind that is our hero today. In Sanskrit, alpaksharam, brevity, asandigdham, unambiguous, saravat, substantial, vishvatomukham, universal in application, astobham, not even one useless syllable, anavadyam, irrefutable. These are the characteristics of Patanjali's writing. In just 195 lines, if you put your mind to that, you can memorize these 195 lines in 1 week. Entire Indian Vedic psychology will be at your fingertips. 195 lines. Contrast it to 24,000 times 48,000 lines of Ramayana, 100,000 times to 200,000 lines of Mahabharata, 18,000 verses, that is 36,000 lines of Bhagavata. Compared to that, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras of 195 lines is absolutely complete knowledge for the control of the mind. In just these 195 lines, an immortal text came, which has not become obsolete in 2,500 years. Every other text we can say that something or the other cannot be sustained in today, but there's no idea of Patanjali's writing that is irrelevant. What a genius. No second to him. So he compiles and gives us a manual of sculpting. And this he does in a beautiful way by dividing it into 4 parts. And one part where he establishes all the theoretical aspects of controlling the mind. Because you have the slab of marble, you must know what you are going to carve out of it. Do you want to carve out a beautiful woman? Or do you want to actually bring out the David, the famous sculpture of David you want to bring out? What do you want to bring out of this piece of marble? You can do anything from that. Therefore, we have to first know what we are going to bring out in our sculpture. And that is called as Lakshya. Lakshya means what is the goal. And that goal has to be established. And then for that goal, we must also introduce some of the technical terms. And we must introduce the technical terms for an explanation or a description of which you don't have to go to another text. See, this is another genius stroke of Patanjali. You don't have to read anything outside of these 195 lines to understand every single technical term. No need for a dictionary, no need for a glossary. A little bit of knowledge of Sanskrit is enough. Then this is called as Lakshana. So Lakshya, what is the goal? The goal is so that I can develop a calm, peaceful mind, and a mind which is absolutely full of Shanti. And then I also have to know what is the nature of a Nirmana Chitta. We talked about Nirmana Chitta. Nirmana Chitta means what? The beautiful mind that is hiding inside. That beautiful mind has to come out. So we have to define what this beautiful mind is. And that Lakshana of the beautiful mind has to be introduced, and that the Lakshana he uses in just one phrase. Tada drashtuswarupe avasthanam. That means where a person is absolutely comfortable with himself. I'm actually diluting the translation. When you are totally comfortable with what you are, where is tension? There's nothing. And if at all there is any competition, that competition is with yourself, not with somebody else. So he introduces what is known as Yoga Paribhasha. Paribhasha means the technical terms. One term he introduces, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That means, and when you are able to control the modifications of your mind, then you would have achieved the goal. Then, sir, I did not understand what you mean by this goal. Please, would you please clarify? All right. The goal of this entire teaching is to be filled with serenity. Your mind should be filled with serenity all the time. And that mind has got to have an insight and should have the skill to see the truth always. So let's put this in Sanskrit. Serenity is called Shanta Manas. There is a beautiful Shastra statement. Why did we create so many scriptures? Shamaya sarva shastrani vihitani manishinaha. It is for the sake of getting peace of mind. The great sages gave us all these shastras. Sayeva sarva shastrajnaha yasya shantam manasada. Who is the one who has completely mastered all the scripture? He whose mind is tranquil. You may not have studied any book whatsoever. But if your mind is serene and if your mind is peaceful, you are the most learned. Look at the way our sages evaluate a person. Not by scholarship, not by what we do, na karmana, not by the projects that we have executed, na prajaya, not by wealth, na dhanena. What is judged is how peaceful you are. How peaceful you can be in the presence of turmoil and challenges. Can you lie on a bed of piercing arrows and your life is being sapped away? I'm referring to Bhishma Pitamaha. Your life is being sapped away. Can you chant the Vishnu Sahasranama? No, let me rephrase it. It's not can you chant Vishnu Sahasranama. Can you create Vishnu Sahasranama? What did Bhishma Pitamaha do? He created the text of Vishnu Sahasranama there, isn't it? When we have difficulty, we cannot even chant Vishnu Sahasranama with concentration. But look at this person of Nirmana Chitta, their sculpted mind, Bhishma Pitamaha, who can be in that state of peace and tranquility. This is because he had the insight. It is called antardrishti. The insight or the antardrishti is training our mind to be separate in its entanglement with the body and the world. That is insight, antardrishti. And the reality is this soul, this jiva, this purusha, this atman is the only reality. That is the truth. Then the teacher is saying, you have reached the goal of teaching. Three things for the sake of emphasis. Serenity, all the time being in a state of tranquility. Insight into reality. And at the core, living in truth. Then the Purusha actually will manifest himself from within. And that manifestation of the innermost quality called the Purusha is called Samadhi. He introduces another beautiful term. What is this Samadhi? It is made up of two words, Sama and Adhi. Sama means level, upright, good, virtue. Adhi means over and above. So it is not just we are changing our personality from negative qualities of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, the 6 identified enemies, and live a virtuous life, but even going beyond the virtuous life. Transcend even the virtuous life. Completely giving up the negative qualities and transcending the virtuous life is called Samadhi. That means the changeless, indestructible seer. Avyaya, one who never changes, one who never is destroyed, Avyaya, and then Nirantara, it is always there, the changeless. And this Samadhi, my dear student, says Patanjali, is the source of this Sukha. Yes, sir, but I am bombarded from all the places, from everywhere. How can I withstand this assault from the world? Then the teacher is saying, the world is true, it is assaulting us from all sides. But what is it assaulting? It is assaulting your body, and that you are transferring it to your mind, and you are emotionally engaging yourself, and from that you are actually transferring it into your intellect, the only source you have got where you can actually exercise tranquility. And you are surrendering that also. So Patanjali is saying there are three forces that you have got to watch out for. And these are called as gunas. All these three gunas, very important concept he introduces, sattva, rajas, and tamas. These three gunas are the characteristics of the world. And then you understand this and you go beyond the influence of these three gunas. And this is what even Bhagavad Gita later on says, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. You go beyond these three gunas. You take your actions and intelligence beyond these three gunas. Then you will experience the soul in a crystal clear way, and that state is samadhi. Sure, sir. But my mind is always in a flux. Yes, that flux is called chitta vritti. Now let us understand what forms this flux of the mind can take. So the teacher now says, either your mind is being tormented or your mind is in a pleasant state. Overall, if you look, these are only the two states that the mind can be, isn't it? It's called as klishta and aklishta. So in this klishta and aklishta state, what is the goal here? The goal is whenever there is a klishta, a challenging situation comes, that challenging situation we have to endure, that is all. It is very hot, very cold. No use in complaining. You just go through that, that's it. How can you do this? You can do this by abhyasa and vairagya. He gives a practical solution. What is abhyasa or what is practice? This practice is where you take up a project for a long time called dirghakala, with nothing coming in between, that is consistently, nairantarya, done with devotion and commitment, then your project of controlling the mind becomes firm. So this is practice. But that is not enough. Because that is also a stress. How do we remove stress? That is by an attitude. This attitude is called dispassion. Patanjali calls it as vairagya. We see something, we develop either a liking or a dislike for that. We hear something, we develop likes and dislikes. We see an object of desire. If we get it, we want more. If we don't get it, we are disappointed. So that means objects, what we see, what we hear, they overtake and overpower our mind. Not letting them overpowering our mind is called vairagya. So Patanjali gives this definition. Drishta anushravika vishaya vitrishnasya vashikara samjna vairagyam. Drishta means seen, what I have seen. What I have heard, anushravika, of these objects of our sense organs is called vishaya. The form for our eyes, the sound for our ears, the smell for our nose, the taste for our tongue, they are all called as vishaya. For that, non-clinging. Vitrishna means non-clinging. Enjoy. Definitely we should enjoy. But then once it is enjoyed, we should actually give up our clinging. In my classes, many times I have told this story. It appears Ramakrishna Paramahamsa suddenly got a desire that he wants to wear a silk shirt. This became so compelling for him that he could not sit in meditation. Even if he sits in meditation, the only thing that was coming was silk shirt, silk shirt, silk shirt. And it was disturbing his concentration. And then it appears he called a tailor and said, "Stitch me a silk shirt." And the tailor stitched a silk shirt for him. He stands before the mirror and says, "Hey, Ramakrishna, this is how you look when you wear a silk shirt." And he took the silk shirt off and threw it. And since then, it never bothered him. That means the silk shirt about which he has seen and heard had gripped his mind. And he had to get out of that grip. That can happen only by this vitrishna and experience of vairagya. Then the student asks, "Sir, all this sounds very well, very good. But all this is very difficult for practice. How can I do this? So can you give me, please, some simpler solution?" Then the teacher says, "Yes, sure. Do worship of God. Ishvara Pranidhana. Either you take charge of your mind, you can be an atheist. You don't have to believe in God. Take charge of your own life. Or believe in God. Choice is yours." "Oh, you say believe in God? What is God?" Very intelligent questioner sitting with Patanjali. What is God? God is one who doesn't have all those modifications in the mind that you have. It's called klesha. Because your mind is in a constant flux, you want to be doing things. Because if we don't keep doing, then immediately we will actually lose as control on ourselves. We think that, "Oh, I have not done anything today." For Ishvara, he need not do anything. What does the sun has to do in the sky? Nothing. Just presence. Just being present, everything happens. This is the beauty for a yogi also, a person who has got such mastery over his mind. His mere presence is enough. Everything happens. And then that person called Ishvara, he has no hopes and therefore no disappointment. He just lives out, that's it. His sun is not disappointed because I am abusing his light. Sun is not elated because I am doing something noble and good under his illumination. You can be like that. And the sun is constantly active. There is not a single day that the sun doesn't rise. There is not a single day that the sun ever stops shining. So you can be absolutely active. And you can be absolutely doing things, but totally unbothered because you have excelled in mastering that knowledge. So Patanjali says, Ishvara's symbol is Om Tatra Niratishayam Sarvajna Bijam. And that is there in your Nirmana Chitta inside you. And that bringing inside you takes us to the actual practice. And this is how he builds up the theory of creating a Nirmana Chitta, creating a beautiful mind. Exactly how to do it, what is the process, and what obstacles come in our way, and how to first how to identify an obstacle, and then how to overcome those obstacles will be the subject matter for further study. Thank you very much. With that, we'll conclude today's presentation. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you, Sanat. Do you have something to say?
No, we thank you very much for a very beautiful talk. A lot of stimulating ideas, and the very concept is very simple and extremely difficult to reach that stage. But just because it is difficult, one should not stop trying to get to that stage. It's a stepwise process because we live in a world which constantly agitates us. It's also said in Gita, for example, Devi can be Suri or Asuri, constantly showing and churning. So, but also shows a path. And we thank you very much for today's lecture. And Dr. Vidyasagar is not here today. We very much miss him. And also he also expressed that he misses a lot. I just put a little bit of a text there. If you will read that, it's a very interesting thing that I recently came across. There was a concentrated effort by the Arab culture and the we don't say Muslim because really Muslim did not exist in 1200 and before. So they were already traveling to India and took all the holy scriptures and very influenced by that. And from what I learned is that I did not exactly remember the name of the text, but it is called Al-Arabi Hindu. It's something similar to that. And this was basically all to be destroyed. They took all these ideas, and during the Moorish War between the Spaniards and Moorish, it is believed that they basically burnt and destroyed so that due credit would not be given to this country of origin. However, it is rumored that these works are still present and preserved in the Museum of Toledo, which is one of the nicest centers, and I have been there, but had I known that this was there, I would have gone to that museum or library. Okay. So if anybody has any idea, maybe they can shed some light if they have gone to the Toledo Museum, or maybe we will make an effort to at least see what is in the Toledo Museum that is related to today's talk and its authenticity of being very original to the country known as Bharat. Is that something?
Since I have not gone to Toledo,
I have, but I did not go there because I did not know at that time.
Maybe we should make a trip there and see.
Well, so it's a very nice place, and so is the Toledo, Avila, and the University of Salamanca. It's a very famous university, very little known because it's basically humanities and sciences. Humanities and arts. So it's not as popular, but it's one of the great places. So I just put it there that if it stirs up somebody and who has seen that or who is going there, maybe they might look into it. So with that, I will ask you to conclude the meeting, and you already did that. So
when would be the next session? This was my very first time.
Third Thursday of every month.
Third Thursday of every month.
Every month,
okay.
Same
every
time.
month, third Thursday, and if you can go to the temple's website, we post announcements there. and you can also register from there.
And we appreciate the great work of Sri Parthiban, who this is our coming close to our anniversary here. This is the 10th lecture, as you know. A lot of effort has been put in, especially by our supporting colleagues, and Parthiban is such a great man, both at the temple and supporting this project.
And all the past lectures are all in the YouTube, and links are there at the temple website.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
I'm just posting the link here. So anybody who is interested in the past recordings, you can click on that, and you will be able to go through all the recordings.
Can you put it on a Patanjali Yoga Sutra group, please?
Yes.
Currently, it is there on the chat. You should be able to click on it.
And I have also recorded separately. I will put it in our Vedanta Friends.
Okay.
The audio, but the video will be there in YouTube. But the audio, if you want to listen when you are walking or driving, I will post the audio also. All the earlier talks are also audios. I think I have shared with all of you.
I may request Parthiban sir to just put a line in our communications that these are all he has, but just to highlight that all these talks are available. He has all, it is there, I think in small letters, but we can say that all these lectures and discussions are on the YouTube site, and
okay,
they are archived. They are archived.
Sure, I will do that for the next one.
Yeah, and you can please send the email with that web link for YouTube.
Okay.